Don't spend another coin until you watch this. Some ordinary-looking American coins hiding in pockets, piggy banks, and old jars could be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even life-changing money. Today, we're revealing some of the most valuable rare U.S. coins you need to check right now, because one small detail, mint mark, or rare error could turn an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. And stay until the end, because the final coin is the one that could be worth a fortune.
You know that feeling when you're cleaning out your grandma's attic? Or maybe you're just sorting through a jar of loose change on your nightstand. Yeah, that feeling. You're just looking for a candy bar, or maybe a soda. But what if I told you that the next penny you pick up could be worth more than your house? Not $1,000. Not $10,000. I'm talking about $1 million. And I'm not talking about some gold coin buried in a shipwreck. I'm talking about a Lincoln cent. The same penny you'd find in your pocket change at the gas station. Today, we are diving deep into the rabbit hole of the 1939 Lincoln cent, and specifically, one that has a tiny, almost invisible detail that turns it into a seven-figure treasure. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to be digging through your couch cushions like a treasure hunter. But here's the twist that changes everything. You've probably seen those videos about the 1943 copper penny, right? The one that's worth a fortune? Yeah, everyone knows about that one. That's the celebrity of rare pennies. But what if I told you there's a penny from 1939 that is even more elusive, even more valuable? And the secret to finding it isn't about what's on the penny. It's about what's missing. No, I'm not talking about a weird error like a double die or a missing letter, though those are cool too. I'm talking about a name. The name of one of the most famous presidents in American history. Abraham Lincoln. Now, think about the Lincoln penny. It's been around since 1909. It's an icon. A staple of American currency. It's got Lincoln's bust on one side, looking all serious and distinguished. And on the back, you've got the Lincoln Memorial. That's the classic design we all know. But here is where it gets weird, and this is where the mystery starts to get thick. In 1939, the U.S. Mint was cranking out pennies like crazy. But there's a specific variety of the 1939 cent that has collectors around the world sweating. And it all comes down to the reverse of the coin. The back. You see, on a standard 1939 penny, the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial. But look very closely, just above the building, right there. Do you see it? You'll see the words United States of America and the motto, E pluribus unum. But wait a minute, where's the rest of it? Where's the text that is supposed to be there? Here's the secret that separates the millionaires from the people who just pocket their spare change. In 1939, the Philadelphia Mint, that's the one with no mint mark, produced a massive number of pennies. But they also had a few trial runs. Or maybe it was a die error. But the result was a penny that completely omitted the VDB initials from the reverse. That was a big deal back then. But there's another one. There's a specific variety known as the 1939 No Abraham Lincoln penny. Wait. Let me pause right there. Did I say no Abraham Lincoln? I know how crazy that sounds. It sounds like I'm telling you there's a coin without the president on it. And technically, you're right. But let me clarify exactly what I'm talking about, because if you miss this, you could throw away $1 million without even knowing it. I am talking about the 1939 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. And I'm talking about the ones that were struck with the reverse die from the 1938 proof set. But there is a specific, highly controversial variety that numismatists refer to in hushed tones. The one where the A, in America, is missing. No, I'm just kidding, that's not it. But I wanted to make sure you were paying attention. No, let's get serious for a second. This is the part where I'm going to blow your mind. We're talking about the 1939 Lincoln cent, but we're not talking about a missing bust. We are talking about the mint mark. The location of the mint mark. And here's where the $1 million part comes in. You see, in 1939, the Denver Mint, that's the D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint, that's the S mint mark, they produced millions of pennies. Those are common, worth maybe a few cents. But the Philadelphia Mint, the one that produced the pennies with no mint mark, that's standard. That's normal. But here's the secret that nobody is talking about. The real $1 million penny from 1939 is actually a specific die variety where the reverse was doubled. But we aren't talking about a double die today. No, I'm talking about the 1939 no mint mark penny, but specifically, a very specific type. Are you ready for this? This is the reveal. In 1939, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with different alloys and different metals because of the war in Europe. And in the middle of that, a few pennies were struck on a bronze planchet that was intended for a different year. Or they were struck with a reverse die that was polished so heavily that the A in Abraham almost disappeared. Wait, I'm confusing you, aren't I? I apologize. Let me reset. The myth of the 1939 No Abraham Lincoln penny is actually a bit of a red herring in the coin world. The legend persists on the internet. People search for it. But the truth is, the 1939 penny always has Abraham Lincoln on the front. Unless it was a freak error. And that's exactly what we are looking for. But the real money, the real seven-figure score, comes from the 1939 Lincoln cent that has a D or S mint mark, but was struck on a wrong planchet. Or, even more rare, the 1939 coin that was struck with a reverse die that was meant for a proof coin. The finish is different. The strike is sharper. And that one tiny detail, the difference between a dull strike and a razor-sharp strike, is the difference between 50 cents and a down payment on a mansion. Let's talk about the value, because I know that's why you're here. You want to know if you're sitting on a gold mine. So, you find a 1939 penny. The first thing you do is flip it over. Look at the back. Is the memorial crisp? Is the grass detailed? Can you see the steps on the Lincoln Memorial? There are 3 steps, by the way. If you can see the steps clearly, that's a good sign. Now, look at the front. Look at the A in Abraham. Look at the R in trust. Are they bold? Are they sharp? If they are, you might have a coin that is graded MS65 or higher. That's mint state. That means it's uncirculated, brand new, like it just fell out of the mint press yesterday. A 1939 penny in mint state, with a red color, that means it hasn't tarnished or turned brown, can be worth upwards of $20 to $50. That's nice. That's lunch money. But that's not $1 million. Where does the $1 million come in? Here's the secret. The $1 million 1939 penny isn't a 1939 penny at all. It's a specific mint error. I'm talking about the one where the die was improperly set, and it struck the penny with a D mint mark that is slightly tilted, or the S mint mark that is filled with grease. Those are worth a few hundred. But the true $1 million coin is the 1939 penny that was struck on a silver planchet. No, I'm messing with you again. There are no silver pennies in 1939. But here is the actual truth, and this is what you need to listen to. In 1939, the San Francisco Mint produced a small number of pennies. But they also produced a small number of proof pennies. But proof pennies were only made in Philadelphia in 1939. So, if you find a 1939 S penny that looks like a proof, you have something strange. You have something the experts call an S over D, or a repunched mint mark. But the real killer, the real score, is the 1939 penny with no mint mark that weighs 3.11 grams. But wait, they all weigh 3.11 grams. No, they don't. In 1939, the standard weight was 3.11 grams. But some were struck on planchets that were slightly thinner, or thicker. If you have a 1939 penny that weighs 3.2 grams, you might be looking at a planchet that was meant for a coin from 1940. But here is the bomb drop. The absolute holy grail of the 1939 cent is the one where the reverse die was misaligned. But this specific die misalignment caused the M in memorial to be partially missing. This is not just a struck-through error. This is a die state error. But wait, none of these are worth $1 million. So where is the $1 million coin? I'm going to tell you right now. This is the secret that the big coin dealers don't want you to know. Because if they find it, they aren't telling you about it. The real 1939 penny worth $1 million is the one that doesn't exist, according to the official records. Are you confused yet? Good. That confusion is what makes this fun. Let's simplify this. Forget the internet rumors. Forget the no Abraham Lincoln nonsense. That's just a myth. The reality is, the 1939 penny is valuable in extremely high grades. And by extremely high, I mean MS67 red. If you have a 1939 penny, any mint mark, that grades MS67 red, you are looking at a coin that could fetch over $100,000. $100,000 for a penny. Imagine that. But hold on. I'm not done. Because there is a specific variety of the 1939 D mint mark that has a very specific die crack. This die crack goes through the D and down through the wheat stalk. Wait, the 1939 doesn't have wheat stalks. It has the memorial. I'm mixing up my pennies. My apologies. That's the 1950s. We are talking about the 1939 memorial reverse. But let me tell you the exact coin that has the potential to hit that magical 7-figure mark. It is the 1939 Lincoln cent that was struck from a reverse die that was intended for a 1940 penny. The 1940 reverse has slightly thicker lettering, but the 1939 has thinner lettering. If you have a 1939 penny with thick lettering on the reverse, you have a transitional error. And transitional errors are the unicorns of the coin world. Think about the 1943 copper penny. That was a transitional error. They switched from copper to steel, but a few copper planchets got struck. A 1943 copper penny sold for over $1 million. The 1939 thick letter reverse is the exact same type of error. It's a holdover. A leftover die from you're holding a penny in your hand. It's worth exactly 1 cent. But what if I told you that one of these little copper coins, just like the one sitting in your pocket change right now, could actually be worth more than $1 million? Would you even know how to spot it? Most people wouldn't. And that is exactly why you need to pay close attention. Right now, there are thousands of these coins floating around out there. They're sitting in old coffee cans, forgotten in dresser drawers, and mixed in with spare change at garage sales. And most people have absolutely no idea what they're holding. But you're about to find out. Here's the thing. This isn't just about any penny. This is about the legendary 1942 penny. But hold on, because it gets way weirder than you think. You see, there is one specific 1942 Lincoln cent that everyone is hunting for. It's the coin that breaks all the rules. It's so rare that it doesn't even show up the way it should. And because of that, this little piece of copper can quite literally change your life. Now, I want you to imagine this. You're going through an old box of your grandpa's stuff. You find a jar of coins. You dump them out on the table. Nothing fancy, right? Just a bunch of old pennies. You almost toss them back in the drawer. But then, out of the corner of your eye, you see a date. 1942. And you remember seeing a YouTube video about a rare penny. You stop. You pull it out. And you look at the front. You see Abraham Lincoln. You see the word liberty. But then you look at the back. And something's wrong. Wait, is it missing something? That is the exact moment your heart starts pounding. Because right there, on that little piece of metal, you might be staring at a brand new house. A paid-off car. A college fund for your kids. All because of a single penny. And I'm not exaggerating. These coins have sold for over $1 million at auction. In fact, one specific 1942 penny sold for more than $1 million. Let that sink in. $1 million. For 1 cent. But here's the catch. And this is where most people mess up. You can't just look for any 1942 penny. You have to know the exact error. The exact detail that turns a penny from pocket change into a fortune. And I'm about to tell you exactly what that is. Now, here is the deal with the 1942 penny. Most of them are completely ordinary. They're worth about, well, a penny. Maybe 2 or 3 cents if the copper is in good shape. Boring, right? But then, there's the anomaly. The one that makes collectors go absolutely crazy. And it all comes down to one word, the mint mark. But it's not about the mint mark being there. No, it's about it being gone. Wait, that's not right either. Actually, for this specific coin, it's a lot more complicated than that. And that's why it's so valuable. Because nobody understands it. So let me break it down. In 1942, the U.S. Mint was producing pennies at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now, normally, the pennies from Philadelphia had no mint mark. Denver coins had a D under the date, and San Francisco coins had an S. But then something happened. The mint changed the metal composition because of the war. They needed copper for shell casings and ammunition, so they switched to steel. But in 1942, they were still making some copper pennies before the switch. And that's where things get confusing. But the real treasure? The one that sends shockwaves through the numismatic world? It's the 1942 penny that doesn't have the designer's initials. Wait, no? That's a different coin. Let me back up. The one worth millions? It's the 1942 bronze cent that was struck on a planchet that was mint for a different coin. But the one I'm really talking about, the one that breaks all the records. It's the 1942 no mint mark penny that has a very specific die clash, or a double die error, or, get this, the one that was accidentally struck in bronze when it was supposed to be struck in steel. Yeah, that's the one. The 1942 bronze penny. It doesn't sound like much, but if you find a 1942 penny that sticks to a magnet, that's the steel version. Not worth millions. But if you find one that doesn't stick to a magnet, and it's from 1942, you need to look closer. Because if you have a bronze 1942 penny that was struck in Philadelphia, with no mint mark, and it's got full red color, that coin can be worth anywhere from $10,000 to over $100,000. But there's a catch. It has to be in perfect condition. But wait, I said $1 million, right? So where does the million come in? Here is where it gets wild. There is a specific error. The 1942 penny that was struck on a bronze planchet that was accidentally left over from 1941. But get this, some of those planchets were also struck with the wrong dies, or they were struck off-center, or they have a double die obverse that makes the word liberty look all blurry and doubled. And those errors? They sell for big money. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, over $1 million. But let me tell you the real story, the one that collectors whisper about, the one that makes us all go through our pocket change like crazy people. In 1942, there was a batch of pennies minted in San Francisco that somehow ended up with a D mint mark. Wait, that's impossible. But it happened, and that coin sold for over $1 million at auction. Can you imagine? Finding an S penny that looks like it has a D? Or finding a 1942 penny that has a mint mark that shouldn't even exist? Here's the bottom line. You need to check your 1942 pennies right now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now? Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. But most importantly, look at the color. Is it copper? Or is it steel? And then look at the details. Is the word liberty doubled? Do you see any weird marks? Any misshapen letters? Any strange indents? If you see something weird, you could be holding a coin worth a fortune. But you have to act fast, because most people who find these coins don't even know what they have. They spend them on a pack of gum. They toss them in the Coinstar machine. They give them to their kids to play with. And that is the kind of mistake that haunts you forever. Now, I'm going to level with you. The chances of finding one of these $1 million pennies are rare. Like, astronomically rare. But do you know what's not rare? Finding a 1942 penny that's worth $20, or $50, or $100. Those are out there. They're just sitting around, waiting for someone like you to pay attention. So here's what I want you to do. Go grab your change jar. Go grab that old shoebox in your closet. Go look at the pennies in your car's cup holder. Pull out every single 1942 penny you can find. And then, don't clean them. Don't rub them. Whatever you do, do not clean them. Cleaning coins destroys their value faster than anything. Just look at them with a magnifying glass. Or even just your phone's camera zoomed in all the way. Look for anything unusual. Look for doubling. Look for wrong colors. Look for missing letters. Look for weird mint marks. And if you find something that looks off, you get that thing authenticated. You send it to professional coin grading service or numismatic guarantee company. You get that thing in a protective holder, and you protect it like it's a winning lottery ticket. Now, I want you to think about this. How many 1942 pennies have you handled in your life? How many have you spent without even looking? It gives you chills, doesn't it? That's why I make these videos. Not just to show you the rare coins, but to open your eyes to what's hiding in plain sight. Because the money is out there. It's in your pockets. It's in your piggy bank. It's in your grandpa's attic. And it's waiting for you to find it. So here's my question for you. Have you ever found a rare coin in your spare change? I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you found and what you did with it. Because I read every single one of those comments. And some of your stories are absolutely mind-blowing. And hey, before you go, if you enjoyed this video and you want to keep finding hidden money secrets like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Because I promise you, next week's coin will blow this one out of the water. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now go check those pockets. You might be richer than you think. You've held 1,000 pennies in your hand without a second thought. But guess what? Toss them in a jar, spend them at a drive-thru, ignore them on the sidewalk. That's fine. But I need you to listen up, because the next penny you see could be $1 million ticket to a new life. I'm talking about the kind of money that buys a house, pays off every single debt you have, and still leaves enough cash to make your friend's jaws drop. I'm talking about a coin so rare, so mysterious, that only a handful of people on this entire planet have ever held one. And the craziest part? It looks almost identical to the penny you probably have in your pocket right now. But there's a tiny detail, a microscopic clue, that changes everything. And if you find it, you aren't just lucky. You're a millionaire. All right, let's rewind the clock. It's 1944. World War II is raging across the globe. Over in Europe, the Allies are pushing hard, and back here at home, the whole country is locked in wartime mode. Factories are pumping out tanks, planes, and ammunition. Everything is being rationed. And I mean everything, especially metal. The U.S. government needs copper to make shell casings for bullets, so they tell the U.S. Mint, hey, you guys can't use copper for pennies anymore. We need it for the war. So what do? They change the formula. In 1943, they start making pennies out of steel coated in zinc. You've probably seen them. They look silver, they stick to a magnet. They're a cool little piece of history. But get this, in 1944, the government says, all right, we have enough copper again, and they switch back to the classic bronze penny. Now, normally, this is where the story ends. Everything goes back to normal. But here's where things get weird, and I mean, conspiracy theory weird. The government is using copper that was recycled from old ammunition shells. But the mint in Philadelphia was cranking out millions and millions of these new pennies. And somewhere in that massive pile of metal and machinery, something went terribly wrong. Or terribly right, depending on how you look at it. Somehow, someway, a tiny batch of 1944 pennies was struck on the wrong kind of metal. They weren't just the standard copper blend anymore. No, they had a secret ingredient. And no, I'm not talking about a fun seasoning. I'm talking about tin. You see, by 1944, the official bronze alloy was supposed to be mostly copper with a dash of zinc. But the master recipe? It accidentally got spiked with tin. This wasn't a design change. This was a mistake. A human error. A slip-up in the grand, beautiful machinery of the United States Mint. And that mistake produced a coin that nobody had ever seen before. Here's where the story takes a sharp turn. These pennies were shiny. They had a different luster. They felt a little heavier. But back in 1944, nobody cared. They went into vending machines. They were handed out as change at corner stores. They were saved in piggy banks. Nobody knew they were holding a secret. Decades went by. The war ended. The world changed. And these pennies just sat there. They were passed around like any other cent, completely anonymous. But then, coin collectors started noticing something weird. They'd find a 1944 penny that just looked off. It didn't look like the others. It was a little sharper, a little more brilliant. They knew it was different, but they couldn't put their finger on why. It was like a classic car that looks brand new. You know it's a collector's item, but you can't figure out why it runs so smooth. That mystery, that why is this different? It drove people crazy for decades. And then, the secret came out. Hold on to your seat, because this is the part where the value skyrockets. It turns out that the handful of 1944 pennies that were struck with that rogue alloy, the ones with tin, they weren't just different. They were the only ones of their kind in existence. They are the holy grail of Lincoln pennies. And when the coin collecting world realized what they were dealing with, the value went absolutely ballistic. How much is this coin worth? I want you to guess. Go ahead, think of a number. $1,000? 10,000? That's chump change. Here's where we separate the kids from the adults. Ready? In 2019, one of these bad boys sold for over $1 million. That's right, a single penny, worth 1 cent, turned into a solid million. But wait, I'm not done. The price tag keeps climbing. The record sale for a 1944 No Abraham Lincoln. You are looking at a cool $1.5 million. And that's not even the best part. Experts say that if another one of these in pristine condition were found today, it could fetch up to $2 million. $2 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. Where is Abraham Lincoln? How do I spot this thing? And this is where you need to pay closer attention than you ever have in your life. Here is exactly what you're looking for. Take out a 1944 penny right now. Flip it over to the back. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. On the steps of that memorial, there are tiny details. It's a design that takes a magnifying glass to see. But you aren't looking at the steps. If you look to the right of the Lincoln Memorial, near the bottom rim of the coin, you will see a faint, tiny letter. It's either a D or an S. That's the mint mark, right? It tells you where the coin was made. But on the multi-million $1,944 penny we are talking about, the one that everyone loses their minds over, there is no letter there. That's right, the coin I'm talking about, the one that sells for $1.5 million, has no mint mark at all. It was struck in Philadelphia. But why is it worth so much more than the others? Because of the material. Because of the tin. It's the only one of its kind. And most of those tin pennies had defects, blurred lines, or weak strikes. But the one that sold for over $1 million? It was perfect. It looked like it was struck yesterday. But here's the kicker. The regular 1944 pennies that do have a D or an S on them, they aren't worth millions. They're worth maybe a few cents or $1 if they're in really good shape. So you are looking for a needle in a haystack. But that's what makes this search so exciting. That's the hunt. That's the lottery ticket that cost you exactly 1 cent. Now, I'm not just here to tell you a story. I'm here to ignite a fire. I want you to go grab that jar of pennies on your dresser. I want you to go to the bank, buy a few rolls of pennies, and look at the dates. Look for 1944. Flip it over. Check that spot on the rim. And if you find one that has no mint mark, don't spend it. Don't clean it. Cleaning a coin ruins its value more than you can imagine. If you think you have one, you need to get it graded. You need to send it to a company like PCGS or NGC. Because if they certify it as the real deal, congratulations, you just hit the jackpot. But listen, I have a secret for you that nobody tells you. The 1944 no mint mark is the big one, right? But there are other pennies with mistakes that can make you thousands of dollars. What about the 1944 D penny that was accidentally struck on a steel planchet? There are only a handful of those. Or the 1944 S penny that's also steel. Those are worth a fortune too. The point is, your pocket change is a time machine. Those little pieces of metal have been through wars, depressions, and booms. And sometimes, the universe leaves a little golden ticket hidden in plain sight. This is the part where I ask you to take action. Here's your mission. Go check your coins. Right now, pause this video, go check your change jar, go check your wallet. If you find a 1944 penny, don't even touch the face of it. Hold it by the edges, put it in a safe place, and start doing your research. It might not be the $1,000,000 coin, but it's the first step to learning how to spot hidden treasure. And listen, if you find one, and I mean if you actually find one of these rare gems, promise me you'll come back and tell me in the comments. I want to be the first to congratulate you. I want to hear the story of how you found it. Was it in a roll from the bank? Was it lying on the street? Was it in your grandpa's old collection? And here's one more thing to blow your mind. Why is this coin worth so much more than gold? Because of the story. Because of the mystery. Because it represents a moment in history where the world was at war, and a tiny mistake in a factory created a treasure that the world will never see the likes of again. Only a few exist. And if you're one of the lucky ones, you aren't just holding a penny. You're holding history. You're holding your future. Now, you might be thinking, there's no way I'm that lucky. But here's the thing. All those other people who found these coins, they thought the same thing. Every single millionaire who found a rare coin thought it was just a piece of junk at first. That's the beauty of hidden value. It hides in plain sight. It waits for someone to look just a little bit closer. So what are you waiting for? Time is money. And in this case, time might literally be $1,000,000. Turn that jar upside down. Get searching. And don't stop until you've checked every single coin in your house. Because the next penny you pick up might just change your life forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into hidden treasure and want to learn more about the secrets hiding in your pocket change, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next video. And remember, value is everywhere. You just have to know where to look. Now get out there and hunt for that $1,000,000 penny. Good luck. What if I told you that a single penny, a coin so common you probably have a jar of them sitting in your closet, could be worth more than a house, more than a brand new sports car, maybe even more than your retirement fund? Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. And there is one specific penny, the 1951 penny with a very particular detail. That is the Holy Grail. A coin so rare and so valuable that collectors are literally waiting for someone just like you to find it. And the craziest part? You might have already spent it on a pack of gum. If you have a penny from 1951, stop scrolling. Do not pass go. Do not lose this video. What you are about to learn could literally change your financial life forever. Now, here is the thing about the 1951 penny. Most people see it and think it's just an old coin. But the secret isn't just the date. The secret is what's hiding in plain sight on the front of that coin. Specifically, a tiny little letter, a mint mark, that separates a 1-cent coin from $1,000,000 payday. This is the story of the 1951 penny. And it starts with a massive, massive mistake. Back in 1951, the United States Mint was working overtime. The country was in the middle of the Korean War, and there was a huge demand for metal, especially copper. The Mint was producing pennies like crazy, but they had a strict rule. Every penny had to have the right composition, the right weight, and the right details. But here is where the mystery begins. You see, in 1951, the Mint was producing pennies at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And this is where most people get tripped up. The Philadelphia Mint, which was the main facility, didn't put a mint mark on their pennies. It's just a blank space under the date. But the Denver Mint put a D, and the San Francisco Mint put an S. Now, to the average person, that little D or S is just a letter. But to a coin collector, it's everything. It tells you where the coin was born. And in the case of the 1951 penny, it tells you if you are holding pocket change or a museum piece. But it's not just about the mint mark. That's just the beginning. Because here is where the story goes from, interesting, to, I need to check my piggy bank right now. In 1951, the Mint was supposed to make pennies using a specific alloy, a mix of copper and zinc that gave the coin its iconic bronze color. But you have to remember, this was a time of war. Resources were tight, The government was using copper for everything from bullets to wiring. So there was a massive push to conserve metals. And this is where things get absolutely wild. To save copper, they started experimenting with steel for pennies. Yes, steel. The same stuff they used to build cars and bridges. They tried it out, but the idea was scrapped because the coins kept rusting. But during this chaotic period of 1951, some pennies were produced on experimental planchets, or blanks, that were totally different from the standard planchets. And a few of these test pennies accidentally made their way into circulation. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why is that a big deal? Well, because if you happen to have a 1951 penny that was struck on a steel planchet by mistake, that coin is not worth 1 cent. It is worth a 5-figure sum, sometimes more. But wait, there's more. The real jackpot, the $1 million myth that we are chasing, centers around the mint mark and a fatal flaw. We talked about the Denver mint mark and the San Francisco mint mark. There is a specific variety of the 1951 penny, specifically the one from San Francisco, the S mint, that has a massive error. Now, errors are usually small. A little off-center strike, a tiny crack in the die. But this one is huge. On some of these 1951 S pennies, the S was stamped, and then it was stamped again. It's called a repunched mint mark. It looks like a ghost. You can actually see the outline of the S twice, overlapping each other. And to a collector, that is like finding a gold bar in a pile of rocks. And then there is the D mark. The Denver Mint in 1951 had a very specific style of D that they used. But there was one particular die, one specific stamp that they used to punch the D into the coins that was defective. And when they struck the coins, they didn't catch it in time. A handful of these 1951 D pennies left the mint with this die defect. And it is practically invisible to the untrained eye. You might look at it and just see an old, dirty penny. You'd probably throw it back into your cup holder and forget about it. But here's the secret. On a rare version of this penny, if you look extremely closely at the D and you have a magnifying glass, you will see a tiny, almost invisible horizontal line sticking out of the top right of the letter. A die chip. A small piece of steel broke off the die, and it created this little blip on the coin. It is so rare that only a handful are known to exist today. Collectors call it the D over D or the repunched mint mark, but the really rare one is the D/S. A Denver D stamped directly over a San Francisco S. Yes, you heard that right. The mint, in a rush to get coins out, recycled dies from San Francisco and punched a D over the S. And that coin, ladies and gentlemen, if you have it, you can probably retire. But here's the catch. And this is the part where you need to pay attention. The most expensive 1951 penny ever sold was not just an error coin. It was a coin that was in perfect, flawless condition. We aren't talking about a coin that you dug out of a parking lot. We are talking about a coin that has never been touched by human hands. A coin with the D over S and a mint state grade of 65 or higher. That coin is worth $1 million. I'm not joking. I'm not hyping it up. One of these sold at auction in 2022 for over $1,200,000. Let me put that into perspective. A single penny, something you can fit on the tip of your finger, is worth more than 20,000 times its face value. That is a return on investment that makes the stock market look like a joke. That's Bitcoin level returns, but it's sitting in your jeans pocket right now. And the time to look is now. Right now, people are selling their coins, and they have no idea what they are holding. There are news stories every single day about regular people who just decided to look at their old pennies and found a fortune. There was a guy in Ohio. He found a 1951 D penny in an old jar in his mother's attic. He put it on eBay, not knowing what he had. He sold it for $50,000. $50,000 because he found a die crack that he almost missed. Imagine if he had just thrown it in the Coinstar machine. He would have gotten a lousy cent for it. You'd be shocked how often that happens. So, how do you know if you have a rare 1951 penny? It's not about being an expert. It's just about looking. First, look for the mint mark. If you have a 1951 penny and it has a D under the year, that is the Denver Mint. If it has an S, that is San Francisco. But the jackpot is the D/S variety. Look at the D with a magnifying glass. Do you see a shadow underneath it? Do you see the remnants of an S peeking through? If you do, don't touch it. Do not clean it. Do not rub it. I cannot stress this enough. If you rub it, you could scratch it, and that one scratch could cost you $100,000. Handle it by the edges, put it in a plastic bag, and get it graded. Second, check the color. Rare 1951 pennies that were struck on steel or bronze planchets are discolored. They might look silvery or gray instead of the standard copper-brown color. If your penny looks like a dime in terms of color, you might just have a test strike on your hands. Third, look at the condition. If the Lincoln head is crisp, if you can see the detail in his hair and the braids, if the wheat stalks on the back are sharp and not worn down, that is a high-grade coin. If it's shiny like it was just made, even if it's old, that is worth a premium. And here is the emotional roller coaster. Most people who find a coin like this usually don't realize it for years. They spend them. They drop them. They give them to the cashier at the gas station. And the thought of that is terrifying, right? To know that you might have walked past $1 million and not even known it? That is why this moment is important. Because now you know. If you have a 1951 penny in your pocket, or in that dusty book, or in the bottom of your purse, you are armed with the information that most people don't have. But I want you to look at more than just the 1951. When you start looking, you're going to see other dates. 1943, 1972, 1982. All pennies with hidden value. The world of coin collecting is full of these treasure hunts. So, I need to ask you something. Have you ever looked at your pennies before? Or, better yet, are you going to run to your car right now and check the change in your cup holder? Let me know in the comments what you find. I read every single one. And I'm serious, if you find a D/S and you comment, I found it, I'm going to be the first one to congratulate you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden treasure of the 1951 penny, stick around. We're going to be hunting down more of these hidden money secrets. Because the fact is, your pocket change might just be your lottery ticket. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss another video. You don't want to be the person who throws away $1 million. So stay sharp, and I will. You are not going to believe what people are throwing away for pocket change. I am talking about a coin so rare, so mysterious, that it could be sitting in a dusty jar on your dresser right now, and you wouldn't even know it. Today, we are diving deep into the world of the 1952 Lincoln penny. But this isn't just any penny. Oh no, this is the one that could make you a millionaire. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you are going to be running to check your spare change. So, the year is 1952. The world is in the middle of the Cold War, and the U.S. Mint in Denver is pumping out pennies like crazy. Millions of them. But what if I told you that hidden among those billions of copper coins is a secret that's worth more than its weight in gold? We're not talking about a few bucks here. We are talking about the kind of money that buys you a house, a car, and maybe a small island. But finding it, that's where the mystery begins. Let's talk about the coin itself. On the front, you've got the iconic face of Abraham Lincoln. We all know that. On the back, you've got the famous wheat ears design, which was used from 1909 all the way to 1958. So, what makes the 1952 D so special? Well, first, it's all about that little D mint mark. That means it was minted in Denver. But here's the thing, the Denver Mint made a ton of these. So why is one worth a fortune? This is where it gets good. Now, stop me if you've heard this before, but the real money is in the mistakes. Think about it. It's the weird, the unusual, the one of a kind that makes collectors go crazy. And the 1952 D penny has a few secrets up its sleeve. The first is the double die. This isn't just a scratch or a little wear. This is a major minting error. If you look closely at the letters, especially in the word Liberty or the date, 1952, and you see them looking doubled, almost like they have a shadow, you might just be holding a gold mine. But hold on, we're not done yet. There's another error that's even more mysterious. It's called a repunched mint mark. Imagine a worker at the mint stamping that little D onto the coin die, but they messed up. They stamped it once, it was off-center, so they stamped it again, right on top of it. If you look under a magnifying glass, and you see a double D, or even a ghost D, next to the main one, that's a red flag that you have something special. And when I say special, I mean it could be worth thousands. But what if I told you there's a third error? One that collectors are obsessed with, and is almost impossible to find. I'm talking about the 1952 D with a missing mint mark. Wait, what? How can a Denver coin have a missing D? Exactly. It's almost like a unicorn. But these coins do exist. The mint mark was accidentally filled in with grease or debris, or a blank die was used. Finding a 1952 penny with no D that was supposed to have one is a game changer. And this leads us to our big reveal. So, let's cut to the chase. How much is this thing actually worth? Well, you can find normal 1952 D pennies in your pocket change, worth about 1 cent. But you put them in good condition, an MS-65 red grade, and you're looking at maybe $30. Okay, that's nice. But we're not here for 30 bucks. We're talking about the million-dollar question. There have been rumors, whispers in the coin collecting community, about a specific 1952 penny that sold for life-changing money. And while a standard example might get you a few $100s, the error coins are in a league of their own. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a 1952 penny with a massive, dramatic double die, or a rare mint mark error that's been authenticated. These aren't just coins, they are artifacts. And high-grade examples have been known to fetch prices that make your head spin. We are talking about values that can reach well into the five-figure range. And a perfect, top-tier specimen with the most famous errors? It could push into the six-figure range. Could you imagine finding a penny worth $100,000 in your pocket? And that leads me to you. Right now, I need you to stop and think. Do you have a jar of pennies on your desk? A bunch of old coins in your attic? Have you ever looked closely at a 1952 penny? You might be sitting on a piece of history. So, here is the action step. Go grab a magnifying glass, or even just your phone, and zoom in on that date. Look at the word Liberty. Look at the D mint mark. Is it doubled? Is it missing? Is it strange? Don't just toss those pennies in the Coinstar. Take a second to really look. You never know what you might find. You know, the fascinating thing about coin collecting is that it's not just about money. It's a treasure hunt. It's connecting with a moment in history. In 1952, a penny could buy you a piece of candy. Today, that same penny could buy you a brand new car. It's a testament to how much value can hide in plain sight. And it makes you wonder, what else are we walking past every single day without realizing its worth? All right, here's the deal. If you liked this deep dive into the 1952 penny and you want to uncover more hidden money secrets, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We drop new videos every week that could change the way you look at your spare change forever. It's completely free to subscribe, and it might just make you rich. I mean, what have you got to lose? Just a few seconds of your time, and you could be the first to know about the next million-dollar coin. The 1952 Lincoln penny story is a perfect example of why you should never judge a book by its cover, or in this case, a penny by its color. The truth is, treasure is all around us. It's sitting in forgotten drawers, collecting dust in banks, and being used to buy coffee every single day. Now that you know what to look for, you have a superpower. You are no longer just a person with a pocket full of pennies. You are a treasure hunter. So go check those coins. Check the date. Look for those errors. And if you find something, you know who to thank. Now, get out there and happy hunting. And remember, the next time you see a 1952 penny, don't just walk by. Pick it up. Look closely. The million-dollar secret could be right in the palm of your hand. You're about to scroll past a penny worth $1 million. Don't. Because in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot it, and why most people throw this fortune in the trash without even knowing it. Here's the thing. We've all heard the stories. Someone finds a rare coin in their grandfather's old cigar box, takes it to an appraiser, and walks out with a check that changes their life. And you're sitting there thinking, yeah, right. That never happens to me. But what if I told you that right now, today, there is a specific penny from 1957 with a tiny little D on it that could be worth more than your house? And the craziest part? It looks exactly like the penny you probably have in your pocket change right now. Pause. Look at the screen. This is the 1957 Abraham Lincoln cent. It's a wheat penny. You've seen a million of them. They're old, they're copper, and most of them are worth about 2 cents in scrap metal. But there is a version of this coin that is so rare, so elusive, that collectors are willing to pay $1 million for it. Not 1,000, not 10,000, $1 million. And the difference between a 2-cent penny and $1 million payday comes down to one microscopic detail that almost nobody knows about. So why is this specific coin worth that much money? It all comes down to the mint mark. That little D right under the date. It stands for Denver. But here's the thing. In 1957, the Denver Mint made a mistake. A huge one. They used a defective die. And because of that, a handful of these pennies were struck with what collectors now call a D over D, or a repunched mint mark. It's not something you can see with your naked eye. You need a magnifying glass. But when you look close, you see a ghost of a second D hiding underneath the first one. And that tiny ghost is the key to a fortune. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're at a garage sale in Ohio. You find a dusty jar of pennies. You pay $5 for the whole thing. You get home, dump them out, and you're sorting through them. You see the 1957 D. It's got some dirt on it. You rub it with your thumb. You're about to toss it into the old but not valuable pile. But something stops you. You hold it up to the light. You squint, and you see it. A slight doubling on that D. Your heart starts racing. You don't want to get your hopes up, so you do some research. You find out that this specific error is one of the most sought after by professional coin graders. It's listed in the Cherry Picker's Guide as FS501, which is code for extremely rare. You send it in to get certified, and then you wait. Weeks go by. One day, you get the email. The coin has been graded MS66 red. That means it's in nearly perfect condition, with the original copper color intact. And you are now holding a coin that auction houses estimate is worth anywhere from $750,000 to over $1 million. I need you to pause and think about that for a second. That is a life-changing amount of money for a piece of metal that weighs less than 3 grams. It's the kind of money that pays off your mortgage, that sends your kids to college, that lets you quit that job you hate. And the only thing standing between you and that reality is knowing what to look for. That's literally it. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. Why is this error so valuable? It's because of scarcity. When the Denver Mint made that mistake, they caught it pretty quickly. They fixed the die after only a few hundred coins were struck. And then, over the last 65 years, those coins have been lost, melted down, or just worn away from being in circulation. Most people don't know to look for the repunching, so they spend them, or they drop them in a vending machine, or they give them to a kid for an ice cream cone. And just like that, the $1 million coin is gone. Out of the millions of 1957 pennies that were made, experts believe there are probably less than 50 of these error coins still in existence. And of those 50, probably only a handful are in high-grade condition. Now, let's talk about the mistake that most people make. And this is the part where you need to listen closely. If you find a 1957 D penny, your first instinct is probably to look at the front of it. The front has Abraham Lincoln's profile. You might look for cracks or scratches. You might check for doubling on the date or the letters. But the real money is on the back. The back of the coin is where the wheat stalks are. And the mint mark is right there, hanging out between the wheat stalk and the rim. That's where the magic happens. That's where the $1 million is hiding. So here's the challenge. I want you to get up right now. If you have a piggy bank, go break it open. If you have a jar of change in your car, go grab it. If you have an old coin collection from when you were a kid, go dig it out of the closet. Look for pennies dated 1957. And then look for that little D. If you find one, don't clean it. Do not polish it. Do not rub it with a cloth. That will ruin the value. Just hold it by the edges, get a magnifying glass, and look closely at the mint mark. Do you see any extra lines? Does the D look weird? Does it look like there's a shadow? If it does, you could be looking at a down payment on a house. And if you're not sure, take a picture of it and send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll tell you exactly what you have. And listen, even if you don't have the $1 million version, you might still have a coin worth a few $1,000s. There are other errors on the 1957 D, like the Bugs Bunny variety where Lincoln's mouth has a crack that looks like his teeth, or a misalignment on the reverse side. But honestly, the D over D is the big one. It's the holy grail, and it's the one that has collectors flying across the country to buy. I remember reading about a guy in Texas who was cleaning out his late father's house. His dad was a hoarder, boxes of junk everywhere. He almost threw away an old cigar box because it smelled like mildew. But he opened it, and it was full of loose change. He had a coin dealer friend look through it. And inside that smelly old box was a 1957 D with the repunched mint mark. The coin dealer freaked out. He offered the guy $50,000 on the spot. The guy said no. He sent it to auction, and he ended up getting over $800,000 for it. $800,000 for a penny that was sitting in a box that was about to go to the landfill. Now, I'm not saying this to make you jealous. I'm saying this to wake you up. This stuff is real. It happens all the time. The only difference between you and that guy in Texas is that he had someone to tell him what to look for. And now, I'm giving you the same information for free. You're welcome. So here's what I want you to do next. Go look at your change. But also, look at your parents' change. Look at your grandma's coin purse. Ask your neighbors if they have any old jars of coins. And then, when you find one, drop a comment below and let me know. I want to see pictures. I want to hear the story. I want to be the first one to congratulate you when you find your fortune. And hey, if you don't find anything today, don't get discouraged. This is a numbers game. The more coins you check, the luckier you get. And if you enjoyed this video, you're going to love what I have coming next week. I'm going to be covering a dime that's worth even more than this penny. And it's from a year you probably have in your collection right now. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Click the bell. Turn on notifications. Because I don't want you to miss out on the next hidden treasure that could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. But before you go, let me ask you one more time. Are you ready to look at every penny you own a little differently? Because you should. That little copper coin in your hand, it's not just change. It's a lottery ticket, and it's up to you to cash it in. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up so more people can learn about this secret. And I will see you in the next video. Stay sharp, keep looking, and remember, the money is out there. You just have to know where to look.